Hello, and welcome to my presentation for Research Methodology Assignment 4, the impact of short-term rentals on the residents of James Bay. I would like to acknowledge that Railroad University and its campus is located on the traditional lands of Esquimalt and Songhees ancestors and families who have lived here for thousands of years. It is with gratitude that we now live, learn, and work here. The tourism industry is one of the largest industries in Victoria. With substantial economic implication, short-term rentals have experienced a disruptive rise since 2010 with the introduction of online platforms like Airbnb and Vrbo. According to Inside Airbnb public data, there is a total of 3,262 listings, with 47% of hosts having multiple listings in Victoria, mainly in key areas such as James Bay. In several case studies, short-term rentals have significantly impacted the destination and stimulated externalities such as pollution, security issue, and community development. Purpose. My research topic, The Impact of Short-Term Rentals on the Resident of James Bay, explores the perspective of James Bay resident on the impact of short-term rentals. The research seeks to understand how the community perceives short-term rentals and their impact on its externalities. For example, is the neighborhood safe with the increase of short-term rental market in James Bay? Is the resident facing noise, traffic, or pollution issues? Or did short-term rentals help develop the community by creating market for new shops and restaurants, making it more vibrant? The research will try to answer these queries. The finding could help local communities and organizations identify the issue in neighborhood created by short-term rentals and their possible solution. To further my research study, I opted for qualitative research as I need to gain perspective of individuals living in the James Bay. For this, I used one textbook and two literature as a guide for my study. The article by Combs et al. 2020, Short-Term Rentals in Canada, Uneven Growth, Uneven Impacts, serves as base for my study, providing data for short-term rentals in the key city of Canada. Similarly, the journal from Schubert 2010, Coping with Externalities in Tourism, a Dynamic Optimal Taxation Approach, is an explorative research that helps identify the wide range of externalities produced by tourism. Finally, the textbook Applied Qualitative Research Design, a Total Quality Framework Approach by Roller et al. 2015, served as a framework to design the qualitative research and interview methods. Besides these, I frequently consulted with my lecturer and reviewed the example given on SAY's research method that further clarify the importance of mini-pilot study. Preparation and planning. According to Creswell, the phenomenology research approach helps to understand the essence of experience shared by the participant. I opted to use this approach together with semi-structured in-depth interview for data collection. The semi-structured interview help encourage interviewees to share their experience and perception in their own words. Face-to-face interview also provide the possibility of modifying one's question, following up on interviewing replies, and examining underlying reasons. The research participants are the residents of James Bay who are not involved in short-term rentals. Selected participants were provided detailed purpose of the research and consent was obtained to conduct the interview by signing consent form, as well as location and time for interview were scheduled to the proximity of James Bay. In order to prepare for the interview, an interview guide was prepared to initiate preliminary interaction and build a rapport with participant. This also helped to stimulate the storytelling. For record keeping, I prepared the field notes and mobile recorder were used to record the interview. comes to qualitative research, it is important to design flexible interview questions that allows a more in-depth understanding. Revisiting the topic, methods, and question helped me to understand which direction the research was taking. Before starting the interview, I started with a generic questions and obtained consent to record it. My research questions were divided into two parts. The first question explored the overall perspective of James Bay residents on short-term rentals in their community, and the second question examines the impact and implication of short-term rentals on James Bay externalities such as security, pollution, traffic, and community development, to name few. Sub-questions. The two main research questions were further divided into sub-questions to get more in-depth understanding and viewpoints from the participants. Before jumping into main questions, I started the conversation with small chats and open questions on their locality and neighborhood history. As it was semi-structured, I did not follow specific orders of questions and shared my question in a way that kept the flow of the conversation. Then, as the participant grew confident, I slowly pushed my questions. The sub-questions help increase the intensity of the conversation and gain more information about their experience on short-term rentals in their community, followed by possible impact and how they feel about it. After the interview, I felt my sub-question could be further improved or elaborated to get more details and depth. As questions were closely connected with each other, the answers I received were identical. Furthermore, I felt the place selection for the interview was not appropriate as there was more crowd and disturbance. Data collection and analysis. During the entire interview process, I felt I was at the center of data gathering phase, like an instrument that is collecting the information and analyzing the tone and body language. After transcribing the interview, I used a thematic analysis using color coding procedure to separate the key data point and themes. Green and pink highlights positives, whereas peach, red, and purple highlights negative points. Highlighted in blue were the topics suggested. I was surprised to find the participants acknowledging solid points on both spectrum. The analysis showed that short-term rentals have no barrier to entry with positive economic benefit and development. However, it resulted in lack of community relationship and networking, which fueled the trust issue. Furthermore, it generated disturbance, high traffic, and inconsiderate atmosphere. Reflection on learning myself. As a self-reflection on learning, I learned it is important to keep a good contingency plan. I had initially scheduled an interview with two residents who were both unable to allocate the time for the interview, leaving me rushing to find replacement. Also, it is critical to develop the communication technique to build rapport with participations. Active listening skills are particularly important to analyze and understand the answer. I learned that I enjoy listening to others and try to understand their perception. I found many times our conversation during the interview were off the topic, and interview guide really helped to keep it on track and cover all the key aspects. Surprisingly, I found it challenging to find the participant. I found them hesitant to do paperwork. Some even refused the request, citing that they are not willing to sign paper of consent. Reflection on learning methods. Analyzing the data was a tough task. Even when coding for a single interview, it required substantial effort to understand the true meaning. Each answer could be different with how the participant perceived the surrounding culture, experience, and many other factors that comes to play. I found each research method had different modality. For example, in qualitative research interview, a researcher might engage with few number of participants, but might get overwhelming information that might be redundant to the research. Whereas in quantitative survey, there might be high volume of participants, but clear structured data are gained. So proper planning is needed to execute the study. I also felt the time management and mobility was crucial in interview process as researchers tend to rely on participants' schedule. I learned it may be challenging for researchers to entirely disengage from the data due to subjective character of qualitative research, which makes it challenging to uphold neutrality and prevent bias. Reflection on learning research topic. Although this was small sample size, I learned a lot from this study. The credibility and justification might not be comprehending, but the study showed that the resident could choose to stay neutral. Short-term rentals resulted in lack of community relationship and networking, which signify the loss of bond, inclusivity and unity, but yet it has created a platform for public to venture on one of the fastest growing business in the world with almost no barrier to entry. That could result in positive economic benefit and development. However, it generated disturbance, high traffic, and insecurity in community, which studies suggest that it need to be addressed by responsible bodies. So all the parties could flourish without giving away anything. I found very less research under this topic. Any further research under this topic could benefit the residents of James Bay. Thank you so much.